All right, we should be live. Hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network episode 117. This is the Independent Musician's Guide to Production and Promotion. And this week we're talking a new AI audio generator from Stable Diffusion that promises to do things a little bit differently in their supposedly fair, or dare I even say ethical, training of the AI with copyright-free sounds. We'll also discuss some free plugins, one sent to us from our patron, and then finally the merits or lack thereof of having an artist bio. We'll talk both and different types of bios you can have. My name is Curtis. My name's not Curtis. My name is Sunwarper. I was going to intro Curtis. As you can tell, I'm sick. I'm getting over it, but I have a split personality, I guess. It's the yin and yang with Curtis. But I'm looking on the script thing and I see Curtis, and that's my name now. I'm Curtis. With me is Sunwarper. And also Eonlake is there. But which one is which? That's the real question. Who is who? But I quickly want to say hello to all of our patrons in the chat. I missed you guys last week. Welcome. We've got Thomas. We've got Bendu. Always great to see both of you. Smiling Airs is also here. How's everybody? Let us know in the chat what you've been up to this week and last week, because I wasn't here. I want to hear how everybody's doing. So Curtis is here. It's not me. I promise. Curtis, what's up?
Dude, it's been insane. I mean, I haven't seen you for like 2 weeks. I was thinking about it the other day. I think in the amount of time that we've spent doing this over the last 4 years or so, I think the last 2 weeks is the longest that we've spent without seeing each other's face. So that's a milestone. Now, if that is the yin and yang between what we're about to do when it comes to the beginning of July, I'll take that. So, but yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say, we'll actually see each other in July. Physical. Like in reality, not just through the internet. And that's crazy to me. Oh, also, patron Hydrofighter is there. What's going on?
Hey, all right.
How are you? It's been a minute, Hydrofighter. Yeah, no, it's going to be really cool. So I'm going to Switzerland July 4th, actually. And Curtis is going to meet me over there. So that's going to be pretty crazy. So we're going to try to figure out what we can do. I don't know if it comes when we're doing a ADSN or what.
There is an ADSN on a Wednesday.
Yeah, but I don't know dates, man. I don't even know when. Like, I know the day I'm leaving, and I don't know what day that is. I don't know like any of that. So if we're there together, maybe we can do one together. If you've got like your mics and stuff, we'll have to see. But we'll do something to celebrate. And Eonlake, he's not welcome.
Not yet. Anyway, yeah, we'll work it out. I know the dates. I've got them in the back of my head. I was waiting on confirmation for transportation from my end, but now it's there. I have things, and I have plans. I have potentially ways to make this work in the best of ways. So yeah, we'll get there. But it is cool. It is fun, and we're going to take it. And I better start doing leg day because that's going to how it works in that sense.
Dude, I've been so sick that I haven't even today was the first day I took a walk in 2 weeks. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so winded.
There we go.
It was bad. And Eon, like, I'm just joking. Of course, you're more than welcome to come if you're able to, by any chance, by any fluke, if you are. We'd love to have you. But also with us, Eonlake, how are you?
Is that me?
I don't know, man.
Eonlake,
I don't know anymore, man. I really don't.
It's got the name there on top of me, so I'll assume that's me. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm happy to be here as I am every week, talking about stuff, things I want to talk about.
I was so bummed I missed last week because I really wanted to hear. You're gonna have to give me like a private tutorial of your music stuff because I really wanted to.
I just run my tips and tricks by you first.
I wanted to hear it, so I was like, no. I watched some of it, but I was dealing with a sick baby, a sick self, and a sick wife. It was horrible.
Do you want the really short version?
I mean,
really
sure,
short.
Yeah.
So if you want a good mix, don't just rely on the mix. There you go.
All right, nailed it. I'm sold.
We'll see you next week, guys. That's the end of that.
Yeah, that's it. We don't have anything else to talk about. I do also want to say hello to Sleeping State. Says hello, and also big welcome to Shady Ridge, another patron. How's it going?
Yeah, I've seen Shady in a while.
Yeah.
Sleeping State apparently is Smiling Errors split, full of split personalities this week. You're splitting your personality, and also so is Smiling Errors. But Smiling Errors is also Sleeping State 1978. So yeah,
I'm glad he's like in solidarity with me then in this unknown persona moment. Yeah, you know. That's
Two
good.
needs
That's
to
good.
stick together,
Solidarity,
you
my
know.
friend. Curtis, what do you want to start with? Do you want to start with this stable diffusion?
Yeah, let's start with this. This is interesting, and not just because I want to. We're going to have another rant about the use of AI in music because it goes a bit deeper than that. But I'm going to share this. If you share that, I pop this over here,
Sure thing.
and yeah, I can't see you anymore, but that works. So yeah, this is this notion.
We're not here then. Schrodinger's Audionautic.
Exactly. Let's put that there so you can see that, and then I'll drag that across. It's totally fine. Yeah. So basically, Stability AI, known for stable diffusion, which once was free but is now behind a paywall. But hey, it is a
I
thing.
was going to mention that when I saw the release is free. I was like, with a little asterisk, free for now.
Exactly. But yes, once upon a time known for their image generation, they have now launched Stable Audio Open, a free open source model for creating short audio clips based on text descriptions, essentially. So within this model, you can generate up to 47 seconds of clips for sound effects, drum beats, instruments, riffs, ambience, etc., etc. And then you can also fine tune that. In the sense that you can say, hey, can you make it sound a bit more like this or make it sound a bit more like that? It was unveiled in April, but now it's coming through fully. And the reason I brought this to the table today, the interesting reason why I brought this to the table is there's a lot of controversy surrounding AI models and how they are trained, essentially. And there's always that philosophical debate about the use of other artists' work and copyright and permissions, etc. Supposedly, because they say so, and if you can't trust a corporation, who can you trust? Everything here has been trained on the idea of open source materials such as free sound, the Free Music Archive, or other copyright-free sources, which means that no one has been shafted essentially in the creation of this process, which is for the first time quite interesting and quite nice to see, because we see this quite often. We see this notion of, hey, these AI models are basically exploiting the common artist, exploiting humans to create this stuff, which would eventually overtake. But here they've gone, no, we're not going to do that. This is a free open software. So yeah, this is really interesting, I find.
Well, to my knowledge, too, a lot of AI companies or the AI models, they're not clear on what they're pulling from, right? And they're training, like, what's their sources. They don't say. They're very kind of
can't imagine
obscure.
why.
Yeah, yeah, I know, right? They're just like, oh yeah, I remember there was a video of someone trying to ask somebody from ChatGPT, like, oh, what did you train this on? And they just gave this whole like, oh, we're trying to be ethical, blah blah, but just bypassed what they were saying. So at least they're stating this is what they're pulling from. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But I mean, we had recently we were talking, what was it, Udio or something, and then something came out showing like that there was blatant. Correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I remember, a couple weeks after, it was like, oh, there's blatant copyright just being put in these things or something like that. Sleeping State says or asks, are they opening their code for scrutiny? I don't know. Curtis, do you know? I doubt it. I doubt it.
Doing that. No, they won't be doing that. I mean, it's supposedly that's what they should be doing. Stable Audio Open, they should do that, obviously, but I mean, none of these companies are going to do that in that regard. I mean, like OpenAI is technically not open in that regard. But I mean, they say this, it's coming from Free Sound and Free Music Archive. Obviously, we have to take them at their word for that at this stage, and that's okay. Like,
it's a step in the right direction.
And yeah, it shows, at the very least, it shows that there is this notion of things have to change, and we can't keep exploiting the artists in order to create these AI language models or AI models, essentially,
to create the models that will exploit or remove artists.
Just stop it from being.
I see here, though, I don't know if you read it, but in the notes, we've got the model generates up to 47-second clips for sound effects, drum beats, instrument riffs, ambiance, and other production elements used in music and sound design. So is it not similar, or is it a little different from Udio in that it's making kind of more singular sounds rather than a full song? Am I reading that right, Curtis?
That's how I read it. Yeah, that's how I read it in that regard.
Because that could be interesting.
Well, yeah, I think
coming from a production standpoint, like like kind of like that output AI that makes sound, AI sample packs or whatever, where you could generate sounds or drum beats that you could resample or chop up or do things like that. There's some interesting potential in that idea.
For sure, most definitely. And I'm thinking about these large subscription-based models like Envato Elements, for example, where you pay a subscription or quite a hefty subscription, and you can create sound effects and Foleys for filmmaking and for sound design and stuff like that, right? Where that can get bloated, whereas something like this might be a nice way of kind of swerving that in that regard. That might be a personal thing. Like I find like those subscription-based models like Envato Elements and stuff, they're incredibly over bloated and very, there's a big barrier to entry with that. You have to be making a lot of money or be worth making a lot of commission before you can justify making those making that investment in your business, for example. But this could be a lower barrier to entry, which is quite nice in that regard.
Yeah. Eonlake, what do you think about it?
Well, it's not doing podcasts. That's a good thing.
Just you wait, man.
Yeah. I'm going to have to sort of paint myself up and pretend I'm AI generated or something.
AI Lake.
Yeah. I might actually have a little mess around with it and see if I can use it in a creative way, because, you know, embrace or die. I don't know. I think some of this stuff is here to stay. I do really wish they would try and, you know, use this stuff to cure cancer. Or,
yeah, that too.
You know.
Yeah, it'd be nice to like take out the trash, do dishes, cure cancer would be really nice. Yeah.
I get it, you know, art is the challenge, right? That it's a kind of like a benchmark for intelligence. It's like, can you conceptualize art? Can you do anything artistic? Is it possible? But you know, I'd say, you know, point it at medical stuff. Let us do the art. We can do that. It's fun. We like doing it. But interesting, yeah. I'm wondering if it would be any good just for like stem generation, samples, stuff like that. Might be a bit of fun in the short term, but I don't doubt for a minute this is just like one of the first hops for whatever their roadmap is.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to stop at 40-second clips, are they? They're clearly working towards something, and who knows? You know. Who knows?
Yeah, like you bring up a good point, and I want to read what the chat's saying, but I'm just gonna pose this question for you guys to think about before I read what the chat is saying. I don't necessarily think this, but I'm curious to hear what you guys think. And you know, like you kind of said your piece already about it, but do you think all this AI stuff is kind of like the NFTs of a few years ago, or do you think this is going to have some serious long-term ramifications and change the way lots of things work? So just think about that for a second, and chat, you can answer too. But I want to read a few things from the chat before we go to that question. So Thomas asks or says, I wonder how any AI generator company would ever be able to be held accountable in terms of transparency. That's true. Sleeping State says, presumably they have deleted all the knowledge it gained from earlier models that did rip everyone off. Yeah, I'm sure they've done that for sure. Thomas says, I mean, if they could make a sandbox version that artists could download and use offline to train an AI based on their own creations, that would be interesting and kind of fair. That would be a really interesting use of AI, more personalized and training it for your own, like within your own means and stuff. That's a really cool, like an AI assistant, but musical. That's a cool idea.
Like an AI Tamagotchi that just learns everything from your point of view, only about your life and the things you're interested in.
And it's never reporting back all of that data that, you know, is very good for selling and all of that stuff.
Honest,
So Sleeping State already answered my question, it looks like. I'll read his and then we'll go to Curtis. So Sleeping State says, it's already changing whole industries. My friend in radiography is already looking to move out of the industry because of it. Interesting. Curtis, what's your take on that idea?
I think it's fun. I think, like I'm particularly interested in the lower barrier to entry for high quality sound design samples, cinematics. That's what intrigues me most. And maybe that's just with the trip I've been on recently. But I think there's some fun there. I think there's some ideas there. I mean, it does seem like this will be a stepping stone to the idea of generating songs, a bit like Audio, but maybe if we are to believe them, a bit fairer in that regard, which is fine. I do understand the notion of, let them do the medical and the accounting and let us do the artwork stuff, and I do sit with that, but I can't ignore the fact that that's just not what the market is geared towards. The market is geared towards quick, easy, get it done cheap, get it done quick and easy. And it's easier to get an AI to generate something than it is to pay someone a commission to get it done, which is fine. It's a whole other debate in its own regard. The fact that this is from the offset being billed as something that is supposedly ethical is the thing that I come back to, and the thing that gives me hope, because it seems as though those in the small circles of AI training have gone, yeah, we can't do what we did before anymore because that's just not fair, and that genuinely is a problem to humanity.
Well, maybe there was more of a lawsuit threat than a goodwill intention.
However you want to manifest that. Yeah.
I like how you're like, they're just good people. They're like, that's a threat to humanity. We can't do that. It's not fair.
Yeah. So let me challenge you on that. So on the one hand, you're saying that the business is the motivating factor here, and they'll develop things for those reasons. But then you're taking comfort on ethics in business, which I don't know. Do they exist really? They might be considerations from a legal standpoint about how they go about things, because some could be actionable, and there are ethics in that sense. But really, is the nature of commerce and business and capitalism ethical in any way?
I hear you. I feel maybe we're in the wrong podcast for that kind of thing, but I'll run to that. I will run
dystopia pills today.
I hear where you're at, and I get you. And there is a motivation involved in that. But if the market is to be defined by anything, what it is showing is, even if there is a lawsuit, that is the people going, this is not what we can deal with. This is not right. We need to change our ways. And even if they're going, oh, fine, I don't want to get a lawsuit, so I'm going to change my ways, they're still changing their ways in that regard, which the end product is the same thing. And at the end of the day, that's being dictated by the people. That's being dictated by, that's not being dictated by smoke and mirrors and people in closed rooms and stuff like that. And that's what's important in that regard. So I hear what you're saying. And yes, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you in that regard, but the end result is kind of shifting in that regard anyway. So I'll live with that for now. Baby steps,
Yeah.
I'm going to completely go off of this because I don't think there's much more to add to it. But I just want to mention, I was looking at the show notes, and it says here, similar to what Thomas was saying, and it kind of got me excited. So I'm going to bring it back to kind of good news, but it says users can fine-tune the model with their own custom audio data, allowing musicians to create new beats in their own style. That's kind of cool, except the fact that it's probably then being trained on it for others. So whatever you're giving it is probably then also, so you have to keep that in mind. It's kind of a trade-off, right? If you want to use it in that way. But I do think the fact that it has that ability is pretty cool.
I'm wondering if we'll find, though, that is the fun bit. The generating stuff. Generating ideas.
That's what's always cool for me with AI, the generation of stuff like that. I think it's output AI, but they do these supposedly AI sample packs, and you put in like a prompt, and then it generates all these sounds and stuff. And it's kind of rudimentary, but it's pretty interesting to get some really trippy sounds. Like, you can put in some really bizarre prompts. That's my favorite part. Like, I think it was Rick Beato did a video looking at audio music and showing like these very generic songs. And yeah, it sounds like very generic country or whatever. But the interesting thing is like trying something very bizarre. I think I did like, what was it? Benny Goodman shoegaze or something. So like old swing with shoe, and it came up with this crazy sound. So like using it in these bizarre ways, I think is what's really interesting. But yeah, so I agree with you, Ian. Like, I think that is the fun part. Let me see. We've got a bit of a dystopian thing from Sleeping State. There are two veins leading the way in AI, though. The first taps into human cognition. The second looks to gain an edge in commerce. The latter will give rise to AI bots that will eventually corrupt all markets. Yeah. Let's see. We've got from Thomas. AI can reproduce, alter, and remix existing art to perfection. but it can't create a sense of community, connection, and belonging. Releasing good music anonymously is no longer feasible. I think you're right. I mean, I still will keep saying, I think in the age or in this rise of AI music and stuff like that, I think authenticity, community, and building connection are what's going to matter the most in terms of making music. And maybe it won't be maybe it will be even less of a viable option in terms of like income or something, but I think that's where it's going to be, because I think there will always be groups that will crave the opposite of what's big. So if these very generic commercialized AI sounds are becoming prominent in music and in media and in all that, there will be people, will it be enough to be a sustainable thing? I don't know, but there will be people that will go to the wanting that authenticity and things like that. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just an optimist.
Human created artisan music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Eon, like anything you want to add before we move on to the next topic?
Well, I was going to go into some big spiel about, are we going to
Please do.
Feedback loop where we create something that replaces us and therefore remove the market that demanded that we created the thing in the first place, and they have no one to sell it to because none of us have jobs anymore. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Curtis, what about you?
I mean, I want to hedge away from the dystopia for now. I'm a bit more optimistic about the whole thing. The notion of okay, hear me out on this one. If you think about the market and what it's creating, while everyone is calling out for this notion of let it do the accounting, let it do the emails, and let us do the creation, what in fact a lot of what we're doing is actually doing the creative stuff, which means the market is being driven by those who think that creativity is the way forward, right? Which speaks to the inner and untapped creativity of the creators themselves, i.e., they've gone down the business route, but perhaps subconsciously they want to do something more creative. They want to be creative. Everyone's creative in their own right. Okay, so subconsciously, subliminally, they want to create a tool that is creative so that they themselves can be creative, right? Which, in the long run, if maybe, stick with me.
Oh boy.
In the long run,
that's a great start.
In the long run, perhaps maybe it will double down, and in fact, instead of it will allow us and unlock us to be creative in its own right. The only blockage to creativity is believing that you're not creative. And there is this pushback that's saying that AI generation is not creative. And I don't think that's fair. You can unlock a certain level of creativity in the same way that you have to like pull a lawnmower cord a couple of times to get it started. Like AI is a good way of doing that in that regard. And I think that that's cool. And that would give a lot of people a way to create and be creative in the long run. So I'm more optimistic than that, I think.
All right, I'm going to give a counterpoint from Sleeping State. I'm kind of in the middle here. I mean, I could share my take if you want to hear it, but let me just read. Yeah. Sleeping State says 10 years from now, robots will be buying kalimbas to play. Will be the cheap labor to build them.
Yeah.
So I think what I was going to say is I think it's a I don't know if slippery slope is the right way, but I think it could go either way. But I do agree with, as it is now, I think it's a very interesting tool. And I don't think it's going to go anywhere, and it's only going to get better, however you want to put better. I think it's something to be aware of. That's why we keep covering these things. I think it's something to look into. It is interesting. I find it very helpful in creativity. If you've got some blockage, you can use it as a start point. If you need a specific sound, like look at the session players, which are supposedly AI, at least they're calling it in Logic. But I was able to make some crazy bass line for a song I had with that, or I needed a piano and I didn't have the time to play it out or something. I was able to just do the AI session player for the keyboard, and boom, I had it. I could sample chop it. I could flip it. So I think there's merit to it, but I think it could go very wrong in the other direction. And then you see people who are exploiting it. Like I released 3 albums this week using AI. I'm a musician and I'm making it and I'm doing hits and stuff like that. Or I think this is a hit and I made it because they put a prompt. Did they make it? I don't know. They put a prompt. I guess there's some creativity there. So I don't know. I could see it go kind of a ton of different ways. but I think it's just something we need to be aware of as independent musicians, and that we need to talk about and look into. Eonlake, you look like you have something to say.
No, I just totally fished you guys in there, though, didn't I? Just saying all that. You were ready to move on and everything.
No, I said, do we have anything else to say? And you did, and so we had some more to say as well. It's all good. That's the whole point of this. I think I need Curtis to read this one, though. I'm going to put it up on screen because it's your pronunciation. Go ahead there, Curtis.
AI will get beta.
I think I was thinking beta. But yeah. Let me see. Thomas, not so optimistic, it looks like. I believe traditional producers will become jobless. Music libraries won't pay for new material, but will train AI on existing content. Thriving will require building a community around one's art. Not as pessimistic as I thought. Traditional. I see what you mean. I think
stagnation, and then there'll be a backlash against stagnation, and and
that's kind of what I was saying earlier. With I think media is definitely going to go to the AI end, for cheap usage of that stuff. So in that way, I guess if you're considering calling like composers or library musicians traditional producers, in that way, I kind of see what you mean. I don't like this idea, and I think having that actual human knowledge and human skill creating these things and working with a different form of art, like having I don't know the film terminology, but let's say having like the director or something working with the musician to create the songs. I think you have two different types of creativity then coming together to do it. Whereas if you do it with somebody just giving a prompt from their film brain to create the music, you're kind of missing that musician's end of it. And I think that we'll lose something in that. I really do. As good as AI gets and stuff, I just don't think it's going to be that type of thing. But I mean, it keeps getting smarter, let's say. So I don't know. Anyways, Curtis, and go ahead, Eonlake.
A bit like social media. I think there'll be some parallels there where, when it's new and fresh, everybody's interested, but ultimately we become a bit bored with it all after some time. That there'll be a saturation point, I think, that we'll get to, and we'll sort of not be quite as interested as we were.
There's something in that. I would agree with you in that regard. Like I think if you use the example of drum and bass has had a bit of a resurgence in recent years. It's come back, and not like it ever went away, but it's got this revamping coming through, right? And it's got this new level of it, and it's it's fused with dubstep, and there's all kind of new exploration from the Gen Zs, right? Which is great and wonderful because some of it is sick. A lot of it at the same time is very formulaic and is very quick and is very very mediocre, and it's become about, again, Spotify generation, and the Spotify has become about the quantity as opposed to the quality. And we're seeing this, and I think AI is going to perpetuate this to a degree, but I think the human condition will, as we say, go back to the notion of quality. I can't remember the ex-Google guy. I can't remember his name, but he used the analogy of cars. When they started mass producing cars, it didn't stop people. People were going to buy Nissans and Mitsubishis and all that stuff, and they were mass created to get from A to B. But it didn't stop people buying boutique cars because they still loved the car and they loved the hand make and the art of automobiles and stuff like that. So, and that still will come through in that regard. I think you can have your quantitative stuff over here. You can have your playlists of 150 AI generated tracks which play in the back of a cafe, but you're not going to change the fact that people still enjoy to go to see a live music performance where the heart and the soul of another human being is being expressed in front of them. That will never change. So there's just a different market for that.
I agree with you completely. I'm 100%. That's what I'm saying. I think authenticity will still remain. I think though, like what Thomas is saying and things like that, I think we'll see mass market things that's like generic pop, all that type of stuff. I think that's gonna go the way of the dodo or whatever, to a large degree. But I don't know, we'll have to see how it all plays out. It's interesting. I mean, AI moves at such a fast pace, but then it's also kind of like the seeds that are being planted now we probably won't see fully for a year, 2 years, I don't know, something like that. But I mean, we can talk ideas and all that type of stuff, but I don't think we'll really see the end result for a little while. But yeah, I think that's So that's a bit of a tangent off of what we were talking about with the actual stable AI audio generator. We covered it a bit. Is there anything else? Is there anything else we need to cover about it, Curtis? Did they give any demos of the sound before we move on?
Not in the article that I've released. I think it's behind a paywall. Willing to go and check it out if people want us to, and I can come back to it and see where we're at with that. Behind a paywall, though. So if people want to know, let us know in the comments or in the bits afterwards when Sunwarper puts it up to Spotify and Apple Music on Saturday. Yeah, if that's something you want, if you're intrigued by, then that's something I'll go away and explore and bring back to the table for the community to kind of discuss. Just let us know.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of community, let's move over to the community corner, starting with the Discord challenge, because we've been getting some questions. Yes, the challenge is going. We've got all of the samples except some people on this call at the moment, but I am the one handling the distribution of the samples, and it's been a crazy couple of weeks with sickness, and then I was having to deal with my dog being sick in the ER and all that the last few days. So the samples are coming. Just need some last few stragglers, but they're coming. They're supposed to be there today. I apologize, but I'll get them to you guys hopefully Friday. We've got a decent number of samples that are really interesting and very different in their sound. So it's going to be really cool. So the way the secret sample works is participants send us a sample each, and we're going to distribute them anonymously, so you won't know whose sample you get. And then July 24th is the due date for the track, and also we'll have the listening party at 10 a.m. Pacific, which is an hour right before ADSN. We do it on our Discord before we move over to the YouTube. So that's the goal. These challenges, if you want to get into the next one, this one's closed, unfortunately, but if you want to get into the next one, we'll announce it on the 24th after this listening party. But they're just a great way to just work outside of your comfort zone, get something done quickly so that, you don't get lost in that loop of just trying to fix thing after thing. It's all just for fun. There's not a lot of seriousness. And yeah, all we're doing is just, coming together to listen to these things, give feedback to each other. And just like we always say, together we grow. That's the point. So that's the challenge. We'll have more on that as we get closer. But yeah, the samples will be coming out on probably Friday to everybody. I'll announce it in the Discord. And if you want to join the Discord to not miss the next challenge, the link is in the description.
Completely and utterly. Discord is a wonderful community that is growing, and it is coming through and chatting and discussing. It's lovely to see everyone support each other in that regard. Our round robin later actually comes from the community, and it stems from this show, which we'll get into later. But the idea that we're all throwing in and chipping in together, like Thomas was saying earlier on, that AI can't and will never create the community around music that we have. This is how, as far as I can see it, the community that is being built in that regard. It is run by musicians, for musicians, in a community of musicians, where we're all just kind of like, yeah, I love other musicians for what they're doing, and less about our own myopic existence in that regard. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and it's a great way if you also want to help support us keeping this Discord going, keeping the show going. Head to the Patreon. We are due for paying for our StreamYard, which is what we do to do all of the streaming and enable us to zoom in on everybody, share things like all of this and show videos and all that type of stuff. So if you appreciate what we're doing and want to help support us and do more of these things, but also keep it going, head to the Patreon. If you also want to just help us get the StreamYard, you can go to our PayPal and do a donation. We've gotten some of those. We're almost there. We just need a little bit more. So if you want to help the show, if we've given you any value through all this time and you appreciate the community and all that, Patreon or the PayPal, it helps a ton. Just hanging out, liking the video, as Thomas is always great to say, or commenting after the video ends, that all helps a ton. Heading to the Discord, all of that. Curtis, you can read off a little bit about our Patreon, but yeah, it means a ton. We always love doing this. We love doing this with you, and it means the world to have you all with us.
Really does. I come back to the notion of community in that regard, and one of the great things about the Patreon, or being a patron, is the Starstream Hangout, which we really love, and it's the most consistent part of what we do. The last Sunday of every month, we chill out, same time as this show, 8 p.m. CET, 11 a.m. PT. 7 p.m. UTC, and we just sit and we chat. We don't record it. We've got no real kind of like prerogative or precursor. We just sit and hang out, support each other, ask each other questions and for tips and advice and where we're at. And it truly is this notion of, hey, let's hash it out. You got an issue, I refer back to a couple of Star streams ago where Hydro Fighter, who's recently gone doorless,
That shocked me, by the way. I was never expecting that.
well, it's great, isn't it? And he was looking at ways to create splitters and to create sends to his new reverb and his new delay pedal, and we were all just throwing in ideas about how he can get it done. Hydro Fighter, I think you're still here. If you are, please let us know how that's going.
It might be the
really
meeting one headphone podcast.
Maybe. I'd like to see how that works out. But yeah, it's really fun. We do periodical things like sample packs as well. There's one due at the end of next month. Now, Sunwarper and I are going to Switzerland at the early next month, so maybe we get some samples from our little walks around some rivers. Maybe that's what we do in that regard, and then send that out as a sample
I'll
pack.
have my new iPad that I just got with Koala and all my synths, so maybe we can make a little sample pack with like sounds from iPad stuff.
Yeah, that'd be good. Good shout. Hey, we'll talk about that on Monday.
Yeah,
that'd be great. Let's. But that is if you're a patron. We do all this kind of back office stuff and that kind of thing. Just we come here each week and do that stuff. And you guys who support us financially, we want to give a bit back. So that's the way that we do that. So if that sounds like something you're down for, come and say hi. Starts at $2 per month, but it goes up. And yeah, it's great fun to see everyone there.
Yeah, and just you were talking about Hydro Fighter. He is still here. He says, "I'm keeping the splitting simple at this point. I'm sure that will evolve." Yeah, that setup sounds really interesting, and I think it's got a lot of potential for moving places. But that's DAWless. I think we should move quickly to DAWs because we've got free finds, a new segment, because I love talking about free stuff, and we love alliteration. So I decided let's make a segment at least once a month where we talk about free gear and things like that we found. Now, this was done last night, so there's only one. And I found it originally just looking at like Synthopia and then realized, I think Thomas mentioned this a couple days ago, but I was like, so sick just reading through things. So it's a full bucket 6-track, a sequential 6-track VST clone. So I've got a quick sound demo from, actually, who is it from? Electronic Music. So we'll take a quick listen just to hear it. I see really quickly before we play it, Eonlake is in the occasion with that shirt. If you could just move away from the mic, move to your left there, Eonlake. There we go. I was like, did you read the docket? Because he never reads the docket beforehand. It's Eonlake. He just knows everything. He just knows all of this. But yeah, he's got it. So let's take a quick listen, and then we'll just quickly talk about it. But yeah, it's free. So there's that. And I'll find the link in a minute to get the download. But if you could just play that, Curtis. And you can skip around just to get a few sound examples. That's a very nice harp. Very sequentially. So we'll stop it there. I mean, it's free. There's nothing like, there's not much. Just check it out for yourself. Let me read a little bit about it, and then I want to hear from Eonlake first. But it says it's a close simulation of the original hardware, extended poly multi-modes up to 96 voices polyphony, oscillator with 3 waveforms, additional white noise generator, classic self-resonating 4-pole low-pass filter, individual envelopes for oscillator, filter, and amplifier, onboard sequencer and arpeggiator, Sys-X import and export, supports MTS ESP by Odd Sound Dynamic micro tuning, resizable user interface, MIDI learn, all parameters can be controlled by MIDI CC. That's huge for FCC, one of our label mates, because he CC'd all of, what was it, the Korg, one of those Korg ones to his MIDI controller. But yeah, plugin supports Windows and Mac OS. And Thomas says, there is nothing like free synths. Free effects are also nice. But yes, I agree with you. All right, Eonlake, let me hear from you. What do you think? Were you familiar with the Six-Traq, the original?
No, actually. It looks kind of well, I like it. It's interesting. It's at my price point. I think it's definitely going to get some use. I'm pretty fond of Full Bucket anyway, because I've already got a free plugin of theirs. I recommend looking at the web page, because there's another one called an FB3300.
And I really quickly, like I did post it. I don't know if the links work in the chat, but I'll try to remember to put it in the description afterwards. But there's the Full Bucket link. Carry on, Eonlake. Sorry.
Yeah, the FB3300 as well is their version of that mental Korg.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got 3 synth blocks and a mixer block in it. It's free, and it makes mental sounds. I've been using that for years. So anything new that comes from them, and it's modeled on sequential. I mean, target audience, especially free. What?
I'm right there with you, man.
How many reasons do you need?
I'm right there with you. And Curtis, what about you? What do you think?
I mean, I'm downloading them as we speak.
You're on a live stream, right?
yeah, and I'm just listening to what you're doing, But the ADHD, to me is just like, do it. I don't know, I forget. But I come back to this. It sounds cool. It's not going to break any kind of like. It's not going to break the wheel, reinvent the wheel. It's a great emulation. Again, what I said, similar to what I said about the Behringer thing a couple of weeks ago, that idea of installing history in digital, or digitizing the history of synthesis, and bringing that through, so that people who are new to this game can go, this is what it used to be like before we got, say, Serum or Vital or Phase Plant or anything like that. Like, that's cool for me, and it's free. Why not? I'm downloading it. I'm just putting it into my plugins folder as we speak. So yeah, why not?
And I'll zoom out at you so that you can carry on with that without distracting everyone. I agree, though. I think it sounds very sequentially, as I said, and I think that's a big perk of it. Like, if you want that sound, I mean, I love Repro from I think it's Yuhi, but that's a couple $100, I believe, or 150. And this isn't obviously a profit sound, but it's got that very sequential type of sound to it, and it's free. And if you're looking for that kind of vintage analog-y sound, or just that sequential type of sound, I'm not sure if the original Six-Traq was analog or what, but it probably was, knowing sequential. But it sounds great, and like Thomas says, it's not going to break the bank. It's free, so there's no problem in just grabbing it. And if you completely forget it exists, that's fine. There's the Cherry Audio. I always use that SEM one, but the one that was the Bendu knows what it is, because he's the one that told me. I don't know if Bendu's still there, but the Radio Shack synth, like the MG1 or something.
Yeah, hang on.
MG1, MG8.
Yeah, was it a Moog? It was a Moog synth, I think, that they're replicating. But that one I used on that one song, Departure Point, for like every track basically, and then I haven't used it since. Get it? But I mean, I used it for that. That song did really well. It was like a commission thing too, so it was like great, and it was a free synth. And then I might have forgotten about it, but it made sense in that track, and it made a lot of. It worked really well for what I needed. So you never know. I might at another time be like, I want that sound again, and there's a free synth right there.
I've used it a lot. Yeah.
Did you get the name, Eonlake?
No, it's on my. I just realized it's on my laptop. It's not on this one.
Let me Google it real quick. Surrealistic MG1 Plus.
Oh, wow.
And let me they've got $0.00. I'm gonna put this one in the chat too, because if you've never used it, it's awesome. It's really fun.
Is the SEM still free as well?
I believe so. And that thing, I'm using it on like everything. It's got such a good monophonic sound.
I used it on that remix I did for you, because I thought you'd want to.
Yes. Speaking of, that remix is insane. And that and Curtis's are coming out on Friday on streaming. Yours is already up on Bandcamp, Eonlake, but Curtis's will be on Bandcamp then as well. But yeah, that 9 minutes from a 2-minute guitar orchestral song, and you made like a 9-minute trance. Like, what the heck even happened there? And didn't you say some part of it was a generative bit?
Yeah, some of it was, yeah. So I had to do it a few times to get a take I liked.
What was the generative part? Were you like, because it almost sounds in that middle part that the guitars are like triggering on time, but like different parts almost.
That was deliberately chopped up. No, it's a synth lead that you hear right at the beginning of the track that's got a bit of glide on it.
Yeah.
That's playing random notes with it.
Interesting. Dude, I love it because I love generative and I love the SEM. So you
Yeah,
worked it all in.
Yeah.
Wow, look,
This will tick
such
his
a meta
box.
level of remix, dude. That's such a meta level. Thomas says, truth is, Eonlake ran it through Udio.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think an AI would make the song he made. It's 9 minutes and it goes into some pretty strange places in a good way.
Sections.
Yeah.
Stick
Yeah, it
them
would be
together.
little 47-second blocks, and then you just stitch it together in that way. So yeah, that's the free finds this week. I'll find some more. Chat, I'd love to hear, do you think this is something we should cover each week, once a month? I'm thinking once a month, but I'm curious to hear. And then if you ever find any free things you want us to cover, like Thomas did here, post it in the Discord, and I'll make sure to put it in the list in the docket for free finds. But I think this is huge because, there's a lot of gas or gear acquisition syndrome around all this new gear, even new plugins and things like that. And I think it's good to kind of take a step back. And if you do want new things and stuff like that, check out these free things. Because, man, some of we just ranted about the MG1, the SEM, this thing. Like, we'll always talk super massive, and all that stuff is free. So you can kind of alleviate your gas, let's say. Get a Tums.
Let it out.
You can get a Tums or what's another one? I'm blanking on all those things, but you can get like a plug-in Tums by using some of this free stuff. So that's why we cover it. Something Thomas said too, I think this is a really good idea. He said you could make a challenge, only free synths are allowed. I think we'll do that, plus maybe free plugins, like no paid plug. You can do stock plugins. That'll be a fun one, I think. But that'll be for later. We've got the current challenge going at the moment. Yeah. Curtis, anything to say before we move on?
No, let's keep rolling. I think we've said all we can say on that one.
All right, then please, if you don't mind introducing, we'll do a terrible segue and I'll just throw it to you.
We are here. We're at the round robin for this week, and I'm going to start.
Oh no.
No, we're cool. We're good. We're back on track. This round robin is actually brought to the community and is a follow-up from a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago. I can't remember now. Chat, correct us when we were talking about it. But you guys brought it to the table and you started talking about it while we were actually discussing another round robin, which is pretty cool, really interesting. So we're coming back to it. This notion of bios, social bios, Spotify bios, Bandcamp bios, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all that stuff. And because there's been a bit of a debate in the community about, what they do, what their purpose is, how they form, and also in Sunwarper and I discussing it with each other, and that our own bios have kind of shifted across the years, and they have yin and yang in a wonderful way in that regard. And everyone seemed really interested in it, and so we put this in the Discord earlier in the week, and a couple of people have shared their bios with us and their motivations behind it. Lars's, for example, Lars's bio is absolutely amazing.
We'll get to sharing the bios after. I think we should talk kind of the differences and approaches to bios, and also hello to Little Bro Plays Games. He says, "I'm back. How are you? Welcome."
What game are you playing? That's what I want to know. That's what game are you playing? Bet it's Fortnite. Nothing wrong with that, but yes. All right,
you have to ask Eonlake, I guess.
Yeah,
yes, we have to. Yes, Sunwarper, schools of thought. Tell us.
Yeah, all right. Let me pull up the docket because I just can't go with this right off the top of my Little Bro Plays Game says the game of life. Deep.
Wise words, bro.
So
that's fantastic.
So there's a bit of 2 ways to look at a bio, and I mean you could always think of another way as well, but we kind of, from the ones we got and also the ones we use and all that type of stuff, and the ones we see on Spotify and on YouTube and all that type of stuff, there's kind of 2 schools of thought: a formal and informative, almost kind of like a resume or CV to a degree, and then a shorter, more social, informal. Maybe you only just have kind of like one idea that you're trying to place into the mind of the reader. So we can share ours in a minute because they're a little bit different. I actually need to update mine, but was not able to do so before this because of the craziest week I've had. But let's talk why, at least I think it's worth it to have any kind of a bio, because, and Curtis, you can Eonlake, you as well, can tell me if you agree or disagree. But I like to think of it like this. It's a quick pitch for a new listener and another means of getting someone to listen or become a fan. Kind of like, I hate to sound businessy, but kind of conversion almost, like you can get somebody to convert from just reading you or something to reading this thing to maybe be like, oh, actually, I like what they're saying, things like that. So I break it down the same way I look at artwork. It's a way for you to show a potential listener either the mental image or representation of who you are that you want to convey and that you want your art to be perceived in. That doesn't mean it will be done in that way, but it's just another opportunity to kind of plant your flag and show like, this is who I am, this is what I do. Now, talking back to the formal type of bio, it can also be used to promote new projects, shows, what you've done. I've seen some that really go that like LinkedIn route where it's like, I've been on this, I've done that, or so-and-so like Sunwarper has done this and done that and played on this festival and did this and that. So I don't know. I remember when we discussed that, a lot of the chat didn't seem too big on that one. I don't really like doing that. I like it, like maybe have a little bit if you want to show kind of like, yeah, but it almost comes off insincere, like you're trying to a little too hard or something. But yeah, Curtis, what do you think?
On that first, what do I think about that first?
Whatever you want, just take it from here because I have to cough.
We need a signal for that kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. So let's
that was my Curtis. You take over.
Fair play. Okay. So let's start with the first one. The first notion of the CV-esque, this long biography where it can be a bit like an IMDb or a Hall of Fame or a lifetime achievement award in a Spotify paragraph, for example, that kind of thing. That is what, if you look at kind of like the more established artists and you have a look at that, that's kind of what they do, and that's how they market themselves because they're going for the product. And you, as a result of that, that trickles down to the budding independent musician who might not have as much of a CV or a resume, but like can embellish in that way and do everything that they've done, include links and side hustles and stuff like that. And that's okay. I agree with you in that regard. I think it comes off a bit insincere. I was on I've been kind of getting back into Aphex Twin recently, and Aphex Twin is his bio is long on Spotify, for example, and I think I read a paragraph and went, you know what, just no, I'm all right, it just made me switch. And that's the thing, I want to know more about it, but if I'm gonna do that, I'm just gonna go and read the Wikipedia page, for example. I'm not gonna go and sit on Spotify for it.
How many people do you think are like you in that way?
Yeah, I mean,
it's a good point.
I didn't mean that insultingly. Sorry if that came off. I just mean like it's easy to think, anecdotally equals most, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's true.
Yeah, it's true. That's a good point. Yeah, I think coming back to the note, I think there is a balance between the two in that regard. Okay, so if we look at that's one school of thought, right? We have the other school of thought, which is more like the informal and the social and the leaving it up to interpretation, let the music speak for itself, that kind of vibe, right? So you've got those two ends of the spectrum. The ones that spring to mind right now might be, for example, Jupiter, for example, where he's just got a few words and he's got I think it's his Bandcamp and a few emojis, that kind of thing. That's the one that springs to mind. And there's a few other guys that do it as well. And it's treating that as a social platform, and it's treating it as, if you want to know more, learn about the music, follow on Spotify or follow on Instagram, that kind of thing, which has its place. So I suppose the question becomes about where's the middle ground?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a point to having some of your successes put there, and maybe that's just me thinking from more like a growth mindset or something. But I don't think it should overtake the bio, and I think you should have a little bit there right at the top. But I don't know. Then again, Thomas just, I think, created the best bio for my music I've ever heard. And it's only a sentence. Sleep-deprived dad and SP404 aficionado. Yeah, I mean, it misses the guitar bit, I guess. But that's there when you start listening. It keeps a secret. it keeps a
Yeah.
secret for
He's
there.
so
But
sleep deprived, he's forgotten he plays guitar.
exactly, yeah, there you go.
And
Yeah, because
he's called Curtis.
yeah, so for my bio, I do need to alter it a little bit, but I have the first sentence is kind of like the short quip or whatever you want to put, like the courtesian, I don't, courtean, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It's like it just says sonic landscapes for stationary travelers. But then I have more of a bio talking like, here's what I do. I'm from Los Angeles, blah blah blah, all that. And then I do have some things like heard on KXP, Bandcamp's new and notable, YouTube
Where's
channel,
this?
blah blah blah. On my I don't think can I share it? Hold on, let me see if I can share it.
Is this on your website?
It's on website and on Spotify, and I need to update. So let me just quickly share it, but I'll quickly share mine here. I got it. There's my bio. So I had the webcomic stuff because that was at the time it was pointing to music for imagined landscapes, because like the song Departure Point, all those were for a webcomic, and Forever Becoming was for a webcomic and all that. So I had it there to kind of give the idea of like there's kind of a multimedia aspect to it or whatever. I don't know if I'm going to keep that part. And then the bit at the end about music for imagined landscapes, that no longer needs to be there. And then I talk about Audionautics. So it's kind of a place you can use to kind of show what you're doing, what you've done. But it doesn't have to be. And you can also do, let me pull up Curtis's real quick. Have you changed yours from, it's no longer that Sonic dive bar thing, is it?
No, it's just explorative electronica on my website. Beforehand, it was bluesy riffs bluesy riffs from that dive bar at the end of the universe or something.
I love that bio. I love that bio. And I do also want to mention, when it comes to Spotify, I don't personally find it worth it to put websites inside the bio because they're not clickable. But I get putting it there. I'm not trashing you, but what I do is down here you can link specific things. You can't put your Bandcamp, but you can put your socials and stuff. So yeah, I get putting it. I might put the website at some point, but it bums me out that you can't actually put a link there. Like, I do not like it. I
get that.
So yeah.
Oh, they want to keep people on the platform. It's what YouTube used to do, isn't it?
Anything does that. Social media. Did you see Instagram recently was like they posted a thing saying that call to actions in your descriptions on posts will lower your algorithmic reach, and then it got so much hate they deleted the post. So now it's like, are they still doing it but they're just not saying it, or are they actually like retracting it? And Thomas says, oh, that's quite a lengthy bio, more like a biography. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's that school of thought of having a bigger one, and then there's the idea of having the short one. So the short one, I mean, it's there, it's giving an idea, but then if you want to have that bio that kind of explains who you are, you can have it in that way. So that's exactly what we're saying, Thomas. There's two schools of thought to it. And that's an old bio on mine that I have to change a little bit. So I'm kind of shifting to a more center of like having less, but having still a little bit. But you can have it kind of in any way you want. So those are the two bits of different ways. Eonlake, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah.
Well, you're not allowed.
No, I'm in the middle, really. I think it's horses for courses. On things like social media, I like it short. On things that are sort of dedicated to me and all about me, i.e. my website, it's longer and goes into detail. Assuming that if you stick around long enough, and like Curtis pointed out, actually, it starts simple, goes into more detail as it goes on. So you could read the first paragraph and clear off. If you're a little more interested, you could read the second one as well. Keep going as long as you like, or don't bother. It's kind of deliberately written that way, and I could keep it short on social media and stuff like that, and try and link something more meaningful, so that you can find out as much as you want to, really. But I think there's a sweet spot to be found for each one, and really,
that's a really good point. But that's a really good point.
People to be doing, and what sort of frame of mind are they likely to be in if they're looking at you on that platform? I don't think they're going to want to read everything about me if they've just, accidentally listened to something. Hopefully, you just don't want to disturb them. Keep listening. Don't worry about who I am. Just keep going.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point, because it's good to have a modular bio. Like I was saying, like my YouTube bio is far shorter than the Spotify one, but I took parts of it and then put it there, and then the relevant parts, and kind of changed it to fit the more like production video type of aesthetic. And then Instagram is like one sentence, which will now be Thomas's, and I'll quote him: the sleep deprived dad and a SP404 aficionado. That'll be my Threads and X, whatever, Twitter, I don't know. But yeah, I love that one. But yeah, it's like you can have a lengthy one if you want that for certain things. Like I think Spotify, it's not a bad idea if you're going on that route or you just would like to have one, but then make it in a way that kind of can be modular. Like, oh, I just need one sentence on this one or this and that. And yeah, I mean, Curtis, you've got the completely opposite end of this. So let's hear from you. What's your thinking on it?
The motivation for my one as it currently exists come from the notion that in my head, Spotify are still doing that very slow walk to a fully fledged social media account, and that is a very slow walk, and that's okay. I think as well, it's a bit of a pushback to those really long bios, as there is part of me like if you want that, you go to the Bandcamp because that's where all the lore is, and that's where you see the planets, and that's where you see the universe, and where all that means that comes from. But on Spotify, people don't really care about that kind of thing, and that's okay. That's totally fine. The shortened version is there, and it has been for a while. And I think I haven't changed it out of anything other than laziness. I think that's true. To be honest, I think that's where it comes from. But it's authentic for what it is right now and where I'm at. I'm in this murky part of my journey where I don't know where I'm at really and what I'm doing or what I'm speaking for. So, and everything is explorative. And so that's what it is, explorative electronica. And so I'm speaking of it. I'm still finding my way in that regard. And so that works right now. Will it be forever? I think what I'm meaning by this, to extend it beyond my own experience, is that I think what you said earlier on in the previous segment about authenticity, I think that is key. And I think that has to come across. The only thing that really matters is authenticity. Is there a connection? In that moment where someone is reading that bio, they're not so much listening to your music. They might have it on in the background, but at that moment, their focus and their main attention is on your bio, and they're listening to your story. And the question is that an authentic story? And that is really the only thing that matters in that regard. So, but then again, that's when you start asking those questions. What is authentic? What is authentic for me? Is the same thing that's authentic for that guy or gal? Is that the same for me, etc.? That kind of thing. So, if you want to rattle off your Hall of Fame application in a bio, go for it. If that's how you see it and that's what you want to do, as long as you're being true to yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it stands to reason to have that kind of, whether the creative end, what you're talking about, it makes sense to have that no matter what. I think, because I've seen a lot of Spotify channels that just don't have a bio. And I think having something there to it's just like artwork. It's a spot someone may check out or see an impression or a first impression, and you can kind of give an idea of who you are so that when they're listening, they can kind of understand where you're coming from. And I think that helps build connection, which is what we're talking about in that AI segment. Building connection is very important. And I think that's special. And just another spot that you can have your bio. And a couple things. First, Little Bro Plays Games. I want to read this one. It says, I have a soft spot for this crew, an outstanding show. I try and come in whenever I can to support this wonderful trio and sometimes squad. Keep on rocking. Thank you. We appreciate it. We always appreciate having you on as well. Love to hear from you. Thomas says, I think that the kind of lengthy bio makes sense for a producer with a few irons in the fire. Definitely. And then lastly, and this is also something I wanted to mention, I imagine potential labels, collaborators, etc., would potentially check out your bio to get a clear image of who you are. And I think I appreciate him saying that, because I meant to say, I think a lengthy bio works if you're trying to court something, like, if you're going to have labels, or like if you're a YouTuber and you want what's it called, not sponsorships, but you're getting gear requests or things like that, like they're going to be interested in seeing what you've done and the things you've done and where you've been and all that type of stuff. So I think it is important in that regard, because like Curtis is saying, it depends on how your authenticity, and if you're trying to be a YouTuber or grow or get out there with the labels and things like that, I do think personally, it does help to have a little bit there. But I there's no hate on the smaller, shorter bio. And I really like the idea of it, to just like get something in the mind like this. That's why, like, I've never forgotten that. I paraphrase it because I don't remember it word for word, but I've never forgotten the concept of Curtis's original one, that dive bar, because it just fits his aesthetic to me like so perfectly, and I love that one. And I think like that's why I try to put that first in my bio, like have that little bit. And I'm not saying mine is anywhere near as cool as Curtis's was.
Well, this is it. If anyone can remember what it is, I'm curious because I've forgotten it now. So if anyone can remember what it is,
it was like it was like Sonic something's at the dive in a dive bar at the end of the universe or something like that.
Sonic stories from that dive bar at the edge of the universe.
From that dive bar at the edge of the universe. Yeah, that was it. That was it. I love that one. I still like your explorative electronica, but I personally, I think that one just like is you to a T with your sound and like all that type of stuff. But anyways, I think it's good to have that at the start of, even if you're going to have a lengthy CV-esque bio, like have something there. Because if you're someone like Curtis who's just going to read one sentence and turn away, then you've got him. You got him with that first one. And then you've got the rest for those that I was saying. Does everybody think like you, Curtis? And he's like, I don't know. So yeah. Anything else, Curtis, before, and Eonlake, I'll get to you next. But before I read a couple of bios from our patrons and Discordians? I just can't think of these things today, but
Audionautics, Audionauts.
Audionauts. Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah. And that note, if we do make sonic stories, or if we do make and we make structure in song, we think about it in terms of structure with words, as in you've got a hook, like you say, a modular bio, get them with a hook, and then you can go into everything in that regard. But yes, Curtis, you should get that quote on the back on your bio. Fair play. Maybe I should. I'll have to see. Watch this space. It'll probably be up by the end of the week. But yeah, now
you're such a contrarian. Now you're not going to do it just because people. He's like, oh, people like it? No way.
We'll have to see. We'll have to watch this space. I do miss it. So we'll have to see. And now
I'm telling you, man, I might have forgotten the exact word.
I remember some of that, yeah. And it's quite evocative as well. I think it's good to have a line that's evocative, I like your one about stationary traveling. That's good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to think up something clever. The problem with thinking up something clever is it sounds like you sat down and you tried to think of something clever.
Okay, this might be controversial. This might be controversial, but for anyone looking to create a bio and they want that type of thing, Thomas, you just beat me to the punch, man. I was going to say, throw some stuff into ChatGPT, see what it comes up with, and then revise it and edit it. But Thomas said you can always get ChatGPT to write your bio. Yeah, but I wouldn't use what it says, because ChatGPT is very ChatGPT-esque in its writing. And I think as more people use it, like maybe more people will recognize it. But
see if you can get it to give you ideas, and then
what you could do is you could throw Curtis's line in and be like, I want a bio like this, and see what it does.
But better,
but better. No, I don't think you could get better than that one personally. But all I'm saying is
make him jealous.
if you wanted to go the ChatGPT route, for anybody that wants some sort of actionable method here, get bios you like, multiple bios you like, and feed that into ChatGPT in one single prompt. Don't put it in multiple, and say, can you make a bio similar to this? Here's my stuff. Like, here's my name, here's where I'm from, this and that, and then see what it comes up with. And then I would definitely finesse it, and maybe not keep much of it, but just to kind of get a start. You could definitely kind of see where it is. If you're struggling to write a bio, if you're not, then just go for it. But if you are struggling to write a bio or want something creative, like Eonlake was saying, Eonlake, I'm giving you an idea here as well, if you'd like. But yeah, that's just an idea you could do if you're comfortable with using ChatGPT. But Eonlake, sorry to change it. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No.
I just zoomed in on you to just go. You sure now that the camera's on you, you don't have anything to say?
I'm frozen. No, I was going to say the same thing, actually.
Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect. Yeah. All right. Let me read a couple of bios from our chat and or from our Discord, I believe. Yeah, they're all from patrons. So we've got Bendu says outsider, habitual daydreamer, electronic musician, modular synthesizer enthusiast, and occasional sound bath provider. Makes haunted lo-fi beats that aim to tell an emotional story, bend the mind, and delight the ear. I really like that. It's short, but it says a lot. And I like I said, I like the creativity of not the creativity. It is creative, but I like putting images into the mind, just like without artwork. You can create something so that even subconsciously, when they're listening to you, they have kind of this idea of what you're doing and who you are and things like that. You've got Lars put one. Lars is in the chat. He put a different bio, but his bio in the Discord is much better, I think. But Eon, like, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I was just saying that it's quite evocative. You put some words like that in. That's quite descriptive, and it really matches his music. So,
yes, definitely. Yeah, and I really like that. Makes haunted lo-fi beats that tell an emotional story, bend the mind, and delight the ear. Because it's kind of like almost contrasting with the haunted delight. You know, you get this like this very push pull
to all the elements that he has in his sound. That there's a lot going on there, and
definitely
it says that without saying it. If you see what I mean.
Yeah, and I wanted to say I know I mentioned Lars is there, but I did want to say hello to our patron Lars. His bio, what he listed in the Discord, I'll read in a second, but he says my bio be like me music guy. I mean, that's something, but I think your bio from the Discord is better, and it says I hate writing a bio.
Yeah.
I like that though. I like that because I think it just kind of like it still sets up who you are. It kind of says this is me with, you know, being in that way or whatever. Thomas says, I just asked ChatGPT to write a joke about Curtis. Why did Curtis bring a ladder to the bar? Because they heard the drinks were on the house. And yeah, Bendu says, I stole the outsider thing from Boards of Canada. I know, but that's okay. It's just like I said with ChatGPT. Take Curtis's bio, throw it in there, and get a new bio. Yeah, is there any? I think we've got one more bio in here. Yeah, Thomas says, I've rewritten the bio for my personal Spotify profile. Hi there, I'm a sound collector, synth geek, and knob fiddler from Denmark, embracing the happy creative accidents of everyday life. Enjoy my music. Sorry. I like that too. I like the happy creative accidents. It gives, in my head, like a little Bob Ross, you know, like, connotation, like something familiar. Yeah. Oh, Lars is in California. Interesting. Where in California, Lars? Middle of nowhere is a lot of places in California. It's a big state, but yeah.
Behind you.
Yeah, there he is. He's behind Master Chief. Oh, he's way up. Okay. Lars says, no, I'm like 2.5 hours southeast of San Jose. Okay, yeah. So, no, too far. That's like another state, basically.
It's a big place, America, isn't it? It's a big place.
California is a big place. Yeah,
exactly.
So yeah, something to note interesting about these bios, they're all quite short. Think of it as you will. But I just wanted to say, just noticed that. So Eon, like anything you want to add on these?
Just going to say they're quite short, but they give an idea of the personality behind it. You know, there's a bit of a knack to writing something that short that still has something of your character in, but I think it's a good idea if you can.
Yeah. And Curtis?
Strike a balance between informative and whimsical, but something that speaks from the heart.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's what
I think that's right.
One.
So I think we talked a bit about why it matters, but is there anything we want to say in summation of why would a bio matter? Eonlake?
I think it's important to try and have some sort of identity. I mean, your unique selling point is you, and all right, particularly your music, because that's what we're all here for. But yeah, I mean, it's good to have something for those who are interested that speaks a little bit deeper about why you do what you do, how you do it, what you're about, because, having that some kind of story is important if anyone does want to delve, any deeper than superficially into what you do. I like to know more about people when I get really into what they do. their music and so on. I like to know, the kind of things that they use to create it, their processes, their backgrounds, So yeah, I think it's good to be out there, but I believe very strongly in tailoring it for the particular medium, for the purpose that the person potentially reading it might be there for, and the frame of mind they might be in. And I think the full version and all the detail that for me will always be website based. That is all it's your shop. It's all about you. Unashamedly, why would you make a website otherwise? So that's the full version, and maybe start trimming it down or making it more specific to certain things for certain platforms. But yeah, try not to crawl up your own backside and keep it whimsical, as Curtis said, to some degree. Try and strike a balance.
Okay, so Curtis, anything, and then I want to read it just for anybody watching or in the chat right now that or on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, which give a star or a review. Well, not 1 star, give 5-star if you'd like, if you enjoyed the show, but give a rating. It helps a ton. But I have a few little actionable ideas that I'll read and we can carry it on with it. But Curtis, anything you want to add from what Eonlake said?
No, I want to hear about these actionable things that you're talking about.
Okay, well, I was writing them while Eonlake was droning on there. No, I'm just kidding, man.
Oh, shots fired.
No, it was a lot of what you were saying. I was just typing. So it's not like you were droning on. You were giving really good info. I just had to tease you because you were saying earlier. But be authentic, and that depends on who you are, who you want to present yourself as. And as an extension of that, consider who you're trying to reach and tailor the bio to that audience. So if you're trying to be a YouTuber that gets gear or plugins to review and things like that, or you're trying to reach labels and things like that, consider having kind of that CV-esque section or resume section where you're discussing kind of things you've done and that type of stuff. I would say, and I think you guys agree, but let me know, have strong imagery that puts something in the mind of the reader so that when they're listening, they kind of have an idea. As Eonlake was saying, see, I did listen, don't worry. Tailor your bio for the medium specifically that each one is on. So I was saying have a modular bio. So have a part that you can take out of it for shorter bios, like where you get 100-something characters on Instagram, and then have a longer one when you get the opportunity if you need the longer one. And then lastly, what I've got is if you need bio ideas or to help get a biography started or bio started, use ChatGPT. And I would say take some bios that you enjoy and put that in the prompt saying, this is the kind of style I like, and here's my information, your location, what type of music you make, anything like that, anything you want to include in terms of being authentically you. Curtis, I see Eonlake's muted. So Curtis, do you have anything you want to add, disagree with, agree with, strongly agree, strongly oppose? I saw something about a poll, so I'm making this very poll-esque.
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think you've got everything to a T. I'm not pushing back on anything.
Wow. We're usually yin and yang. I thought you'd be like, no.
Well, yin and yang sometimes have their absolute.
Fair
I mean,
enough.
that is harmony, no? That is harmony.
Fair enough. That is harmony, my friend. Yeah, that is harmony. All right. Go ahead, though. Sorry.
No, just it sounds good in that regard, and I think I do want to just add that notion of again the whimsy, the notion of not taking it too seriously. I think we do take ourselves very seriously, and that's okay. It's meant to be playful at the same time. It is art, and it is artistic expression.
I'll put don't take it too seriously. Have fun.
Yeah, lean into your inner weirdo. I think that's fine. Lean into your inner weirdo. That might be a complete projection, seeing as I'm a space monkey. But yeah, lean into your inner weirdo. It's always good.
And Eonlake, anything? Agree, disagree, strongly agree, strongly oppose? I don't know, whatever those poll things are. But anything you want to add?
I'm like a medium to strong agree on most of that. I think, yeah, definitely.
Anything you want to add, my friend?
On a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being like I can't agree anymore. I've tried, and I think I was going to pull a muscle. Probably 4.5, I reckon.
Okay, there we go. Is there anything you want to add then?
No, I think that's a good summary of it. Really, yeah. Make it modular. Start light. Get into more detail as you go. Then you can chop bits out for whatever purpose you need to. take yourself as seriously as you think you need to for what you want to portray, how you want to portray yourself. You might want to adopt an entirely different persona for this. I don't know. In which case, you still want to craft it for each platform.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
Fun.
All right, so I'm going to put these in the comments. And by the way, if you want to help support the show, one of the best things to do is just comment on this video. I think you can switch to comments while you're watching live if you are, but just put it when the video ends as well. If you're watching back, put a comment. What do you think about bios? What's your bio? Let us know. But I'll put a comment with all of these and I'll pin it. And then I'm also going to put it in the show notes for anyone on Apple and Spotify, all those others. And then I'll put it in the Discord too. We can kind of keep going with this because I'd love to hear from everybody, whether they agree, disagree, want to add things. I think we can all work together on this and maybe we can all get better bios from it. I mean, we can't all have that dive bar like Curtis, but we can get close.
But we can drink there.
Yeah, we can drink there. There you go. That's perfect, Eonlake. Good one. That could be someone's bio. Like, just take Curtis and be like, it can't be this good, but we can all drink there.
Drinking is good. It soothes the soul and it builds community, which is, again, another way of shouting out. If you are not a member of the Discord yet, it's a lovely place to be. It's very safe. It's very fun. It's very positive. And it's all very nice communal based where people are together. So come and say hi. It's always good fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. All right, chat, anything else you want to say? Do you have a bio you want to add? Let us know. But we're about wrapping it up. Is there anything, Eonlake, you want to discuss or about this or anything before we move to the final section?
I think it's time for the final section.
Okay, then Eonlake, what are you up to this week? What
am I up to this week?
You're the one that wanted to go to it.
Just experimenting. I'm experimenting. I'm doing a lot of modular in the box at the moment. And I'm going to try and marry it with real modular as well.
Interesting.
But, I'm trying out a few modules that I like the look of, but haven't got. And they are available virtually just to see if it's the kind of thing that I want to mess around with more. And getting some funny results. I'm also trying to do more sampling and more, not just sampling. I've been using the 404 and creating beats, putting things on them, bouncing them down, putting more stuff on them, bouncing them down again. So creating loops that way, not just, making a sound and going, that's it. Actually, destructively putting stuff on it and so on. Degrading things deliberately. So I'm all about experimenting at the moment. I'm writing a thing and the thing's all about experimenting and trying to do things a bit differently. There's some definite changes I'm trying to make in the way that I write stuff. So this will be me finding out what happens if I do that.
All right. Very interesting. And Curtis, what are you up to this week?
Well, summer is coming. Breaking for summer. I've only got a couple of days left, which means that I am going to... I have started work on the follow-up to Marooned. I've had all the scratches in the folder for the last year or so, and then came along the push 2, which I'm very much in love with. And if I hadn't mentioned that a few hundred times,
good to be excited about things, man.
Yeah,
it's better than the alternative. I'll tell you that.
Exactly, fair. Yeah, I love it, and it's allowed me to go back to these and start the sequencing process and start the structuring process, taking these loops and these scratches and building. And I'm about halfway through. There's about 25 scratches, and so I am going to complete the process of finishing them all and then whittling them down to where they are to be. The aim is to finish writing the album by the end of summer.
Eonlake has a question for you.
Yes.
Are you jamming them? Are you using the push to jam with the clips and work things out that way?
So I have previously, when I built them, I have a workflow on what was this, where I follow the squares down. So there's that, but I've already forgotten about that. It's about 18 months ago. But then I've created overdubs on here, which is sometimes audio and sometimes MIDI, and then here, which again is sometimes audio and sometimes MIDI. And then so basically I figure it out, solo over the top of them, add stuff here and there, try and sequence that in a live setting. The push has really come into this notion of I could do this live now. I could do this live. It can be more than just queuing off clips, and it can actually be proper that regard. I've got a basis. I need to work the angle out a little bit more. So it's coming there. So yeah, it's all going. The album doesn't have a title yet. It doesn't have a title yet. I know it has a concept, and I know what's happening, and I know the story. I know the sonic story. But I need to kind of. I've been sitting on this one for about 3 years, so it's just kind of I need to tell those stories. So, lots of inspiration coming in, and when I've got a second to breathe, I'll get down and do that. So that's what I've been doing. Sunwarper, you're back at it. You're alive. Are you gonna? What
Dude,
are you
I
doing,
have
bro?
so much backlog. It's like it's a nightmare just figuring out
your waking hours.
Yeah, just figuring out what I have to even do. So that album, the pre-order for the remix album came out, and I had to, like, while sick and dealing with all this, make some promo, and that was a nightmare. But luckily there's time because it's, a pre-order and all that. I got to film this SP live looping video that I'm doing, an ambient guitar track outside with the live looper. That's going to be fun. And then, I think I'm going to go live because I have no video for this week. So I'm either going to go live tomorrow or Friday to test out using my new iPad with the SP404, like the Koala integration, but also I think I'm going to sample like Audio Kit Pro into the SP. And there's that Arturia drum machine that I guess they don't support anymore or something. It's like Spark or something, but that thing's awesome. And I'm going to put the drum sounds in from that into the SP. I think it's Spark. I could be completely wrong, but it's an Arturia drum machine on iPad, and I was able to re-download it, but I think they don't do anything with it anymore or something. But that thing sounds awesome. And then, I'm still trying to work on this album idea that I have with the vocals and stuff, but I've got one track, and that's it. And the vocals are written, but I've not scratched them in. But I really want some time to work on that album, but it's just, we'll see. We'll get there when we get there. But I kind of like this idea of, like, I'm not going to put pressure to have any due dates on this album. Like, I will, like, if it keeps going, but there's no, like, oh, I need this done, because it's kind of like the artistic end rather than having this sort of, like, commercial end. Like, my YouTube will keep putting out stuff. I'll keep having, like, remixes, this and that. But I want to just do an album again, like a couple years ago, when it was just like, I just want to explore and see what I can do with these songs and have fun. And then once I kind of have an idea of these songs, then I'm going to set the deadline and then not get hopefully stuck in that, like, perfection loop, and all that. But, like, that I want to kind of have these two different ends of it, have the explorative angle where there's no pressure, no deadlines. And then once I have these ideas, be like, okay, these are the ideas. Let's switch into, like, finish mode and do that. Yeah. Like, you look concerned. Okay.
I'm not concerned. I think it sounds like a great idea.
Okay. I thought I saw some judgment and I was like, oh no.
No, it's not like you not to have a release booked for it already.
You'd be surprised with me though, but no, there's none for this one. Thomas asked, will you make any guitar tracks like the ones you did on covers? Yeah, so there's one on the album that's a remix of Moonglade, and that's the one I'm going to be doing the video for. And then I'm almost thinking of, if this album takes a really long time, I might make an album in between of just live loop guitar songs, like just having fun and seeing, because I've really been having a lot of fun just, like, looping the Jazzmaster, that drop A guitar, and these clean tones with lots of reverb and just, like, ethereal sounds, and it's a lot of fun. Oh, we got to zoom in on Steve.
Hi, everybody. Are you hungry? Is that what it is?
Well, we can wrap up then. That's what we're up to. Everybody, let us know on the Discord what you're up to this week. If you're working on anything, we are always there in the Discord, talking gear, talking music, talking all that kind of stuff. Even AI, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on where you land on that. But that's the episode. We will be back next week, 11 a.m. Pacific. Curtis has something he wants to add. Go ahead, my friend.
Steve has been sleeping in that bucket or that place for the entire show. Then you start talking about your live looping album and your vocal album, and he comes straight to the foreground. So
I don't know. I hope that's a good thing. So yeah. I guess he wants the guitar album. Okay. It sounds like Thomas wants a guitar album too. So I might get that one first, because that's the easier one to make. So then I don't have any pressure. But yeah, I've really been connecting with the guitar again. Like, it's been so long since I've been able to play for long term because of my wrists. And it's just like, and then the other thing, Luca is absolutely obsessed with my guitar playing. Like, he just goes into a trance and just watches it. So I'm like, I've just been practicing like no other, just playing guitar and making these like little riffs and stuff. And I'm like, why don't I just record these and then I've got an album?
That's awesome. That's great. Maybe if I get the van, maybe I could stick a guitar in that, and then you can play that.
Yes, because then we could do a duo thing.
And we could do a duo thing.
Yeah,
we can do a duo thing. We get some scratches down, and we haven't had a collaboration, an official collaboration since Voyage, and that could be a good way to get some scratches down.
You know what I also love though is that you and I are very different guitarists.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way we think guitar wise is very, very different, and I love how they kind of like mesh or don't mesh, you know, in that way, like in a good way. It's very interesting. Lars says TikTok duet. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Electric Gypsy Kings or something. I don't know.
Lars also says, I really want to make some music. Almost 2 weeks of no tinkering. Yeah, you got to get back to making those Instagram videos, dude. You got to get back to it. Yeah.
Instagram just isn't the same without them.
Yeah, it's just not. It's just not. But he's been on Threads. I can tell you that.
I'm sure he has. Yeah, I'm sure he has.
Anyways, go ahead. You wrap up, my friend.
I just want to say thanks to everyone. We've been 90-minute show, 91-minute show. Thank you ever so much to everyone who has stuck with us for the whole show. Even those who just tuned in for a little bit and dropped away again. Thank you. You're spending your Wednesday with us means a lot. You could be anywhere doing whatever it is you want to do. Time is precious. We increasingly have less time. So thank you for spending your time with us. We really appreciate the community. We really appreciate what you're doing and coming and making this show what it is, because, you know, there's 3 of us here talking into the internet, and that's okay. And that's fun. And that's great. And we do it anyway. But the fact that you're here and that you're coming back and you're contributing, it becomes a 2-way thing. It's awesome. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it means the world. I mean, I missed last week and I was so bummed, and it's so good to be back, just hanging out with Eonlake and Curtis. And I still feel terrible, but I was not going to miss it because this makes me feel better. It's the highlight of my week. And yeah. And Lars, you might have missed it because you came in late. I saw Smiling Ears also mention the sample challenge. I was sick last week. Dog has been in the hospital for a couple days. So the samples will be coming. We're still waiting on a couple of gentlemen. They missed the deadline, but because they're integral pieces of the process, I gave them a bit of an extension. So hopefully by Friday, but if you want to get it sooner, pressure these two to get moving. but it's coming. Don't worry, it's coming. I'm just joking with them, but yeah, it is coming. It's just been a crazy week, and I'm the one handling the distribution. So yeah, it will be happening. Also, Thomas says it, not me, but he's right. Remember to like and comment. Commenting after the video, or if you're able to comment right now, not the chat, but comment, helps the algorithm a ton. Liking does as well, but the comments, I guess, really do. But yeah, obviously just hanging out is more than enough. But if you do want to help us, help support what we do, patreon.com/audionautic. You also get to come on the show at the Audionaut Plus tier. Lars is usually one to come on, but I think he ran a little late today. But we love having everybody on. That's it for the show. We'll be back next week. Anything else, Curtis? I thought you said yep or something.
That was me.
Okay. Oh, it was Eonlake. Sorry, I just got mixed up there. Yeah. Anyways, we'll be back next week. Let me just get the chat off. Actually, I'm going to leave this because Thomas is right. Remember to like and comment. Yeah, we'll be back next week, 11 a.m. Pacific. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you then.